3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all and in the darkness bind them, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. These famous lines about the Rings of Power have been posted to the Lord of the Rings on Prime Twitter over the past couple of weeks, and they have revealed much about where and when Amazon wants to take their Lord of the Rings-based series. Greetings and well met, my friends. I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are in Middle-earth. Yoiston here, and today we'll be taking a look at the recent news coming out about the Amazon Lord of the Rings show, as well as what we might see and what I'm hoping to see. Thank you all for joining me today. Let's begin our discussion. In November of 2017, Amazon announced that they were planning to do a Lord of the Rings-based show. Now, over the past couple of years, we were led to believe that it was going to be about Aragorn's early history before the events of the movies. Where something like that may still happen at some point in the future, the show will actually be based in the Second Age of Middle-earth, which was made evident by the quote about the Rings of Power and the maps that were released on the show's Twitter page that emphasized detail on certain places of the Second Age, such as Lindon, where was Gil-Galad's kingdom of old, and Celanathon, the land that would be granted to the Eotheid and become known as Rohan in the Third Age. So it came as no surprise when the Lord of the Rings on Prime tweeted, "Welcome to the Second Age." But the most interesting part about it is that the last map they released has Númenor on it, the land of Aragorn's ancestors who fought in the War of the Last Alliance. This is a whole new piece of the show that I wasn't expecting, as much of Númenor's events take place in the Akallabeth in the Silmarillion, besides the many references to it in the Lord of the Rings and the appendices. This is fantastic and very exciting, although I'm not quite sure how they will do it. The Second Age of Middle-earth is longer than the Third Age, and including many of the important events in the Second Age within a single series may be difficult due to time jumps. But I'm sure the show writers know about that and may be doing different parts of the Second Age in the different seasons of the television show. As of today, March 17th of 2019, this is the latest news about Amazon's show. We know that the show writers are working hard, and Amazon is keeping the script locked up tight, according to other recent articles as well. Now to take a look at what we might see and my speculations as well about what I hope to see. For the Lord of the Rings on Prime Twitter, or related articles and videos, please check out the description of this video. If we look at the middle of the Second Age, we have 5 major bastions of the Free Peoples in many of the stories. Númenor, where lived the High Men of Arda; Lindon, the kingdom of Gil-Galad in Middle-earth; Eregion, where lived Celebrimbor and other elves; Lothlorien, the land of King Omdir and his elves; and Khazad-dûm, where delved the Longbeards, who were the descendants of Durin the Deathless. There are other places as well, such as the Greenwood and beyond, but I would expect the story to deal with many of the peoples of the 5 aforementioned places. Realistically, I think we will see some of the life in Númenor and Eregion before the coming of Sauron, and I think there is a great chance we will also witness the crafting of the Rings of Power, but especially the Elven Rings, in the 1500s of the Second Age. Then I'd be willing to guarantee that if we see the crafting of the other Rings of Power, we will see Sauron craft his infamous One Ring in Mount Doom. Honestly, that would be the perfect way to end the first episode or first season. Now, since there were a few disputes between the Free Peoples and Sauron in the Second Age, we probably won't see all of them, such as the War of the Elves and Sauron, but it is possible. I think the whole series ultimately will be leading up to the War of the Last Alliance and the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring movie for continuity's sake. After the crafting of the rings, conflicts with Sauron, establishment of Rivendell, and death of Celebrimbor in Eregion, we may see more of Númenor, and how Sauron was later captured, and how he corrupted some of the men of that land. Then would come the downfall of Númenor, and the flight of Elendil and his sons Isildur and Anarion, who had found Arnor and Gondor in Middle-earth. After all of this, I wouldn't be surprised to see the War of the Last Alliance in the final episodes or season of the show, leading up to the deaths of Gil-Galad, Elendil, and Anarion, and of course Isildur cutting the ring from Sauron's finger. These are the major events that I would expect to see in the Amazon Lord of the Rings series, but there is also much room to speculate as to how they may pull this off. I'm not exactly sure how many episodes or seasons they plan to center around the Second Age, but I hope this whole series will be about the Second Age, to do the time jumps well and to spend enough time exploring critical events. Those are my speculations about what we could and will likely see, but I also have some hopes for other events, characters, and settings as well. I mentioned Khazad-dûm earlier, and while it is possible that we may see a bit of it during the middle and late years of the Second Age, I don't believe that the show will spend a great amount of time there, but I hope they do. In every form of Middle-earth media besides the books and some of the Lord of the Rings Online, we have not seen Khazad-dûm during its height as a kingdom, so I really hope to see that in the show. I also think it would be very interesting to see Lothlorien under the reign of King Omdir, and the Greenwood under the rule of King Orifer as well. Speaking of elves, I'd love to spend more time with Círdan, Glorfindel, Elrond, and his Dunedain brother Elros throughout the show. It would also be interesting to explore the east and south and see the peoples that lived there. The men of the mountain swearing and breaking their oath would be absolutely incredible too, for it would show everyone how the Oathbreakers came to be in the Lord of the Rings. And finally, I'd be fascinated to see any of the outcomes of the War of Wrath at the beginning of the show in the early Second Age. Such outcomes could be the rise of Númenor, the sailing of the Dunedain and King Elros to their island, and Sauron hiding away in Mordor, making that land his own. But again, these are just some of the hopes from a hardcore fan of Tolkien's works, and I doubt we will see much besides the main events of the Second Age, with some slight nods to other people, places, and events as well. I mean, like the movies, the show has to be concise and use its time efficiently, especially if it's going to compete with the Game of Thrones prequel show and the Star Wars Mandalorian show. This means that many of the events of the Second Age will not be shown, and anything solely within the Silmarillion cannot legally be used by Amazon in the show, unless Amazon has or will acquire the rights to the Silmarillion, which would be really awesome to see. But I suppose we'll just have to keep a lookout for more news. In the meantime, and even during the run of the show, we will continue to look at lore from our favorite Legendarium. If you'd like me to make more videos on the show as we learn more about it, or even do a live stream about the show, other news, etc., please just let me know in those comments below. What matters to me is that the show and everything within it stays true and respectful to the themes of Tolkien's works, like most moments in Peter Jackson's films do. The virtue of the stories and themes of the characters and settings within Tolkien's works make the Legendarium so grand, and if the showrunners can capture that in this TV show, then it's a success in my opinion. As we look at the events of the Second Age and what we may witness in the Amazon show, we are able to see the struggle of light against darkness and what it means to make our own way in this world, even when it seems like we can't. But there's always hope, and alongside friends and allies, we will see the light prevail. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and share this with a friend. Let me know your thoughts about the Amazon show in the comments below, and also let me know what you would like to see and what I may have missed in this video. Tolkien's Legendarium is in a great spot today, and there is so much to be excited for. The Tolkien biopic, a new Lord of the Rings MMO, updates in the Lord of the Rings Online, and of course the Amazon show and other projects are all getting Tolkien and his life's work a lot of attention, and I can't wait to continue exploring all of it with this community, the Men of the West. I've linked some of my past videos that relate to the Second Age in the description and cards, as well as other links to topics discussed within this video. Also, please check out our music channel, Facebook, Twitter, and merch. For our Discord server and podcast, consider donating just $1 a month to our Patreon. Links for all of those are in the description below. Finally, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button to join the Men of the West and all of the Free Peoples today, and I'll see you all again next week with a video about the coming of men into Beleriand and our Timeline of Arda series. As always, thank you all so much for joining me on this adventure. Until the next one, my great friends.